thank you for coming down to Planet New Jersey, the podcast for all things business in New Jersey. I am your special guest star host, Casey Skarecki. With me, as always, are my partners in crime, Vinnie Civitillo and Randy Stephens, and our very, very special guest star, Paul Pennacchi, who's also helping us sponsor this fabulous podcast with his great business, A. Pennacchi Sons, family business. We can't wait to hear all about it. And so to jumpstart our podcast, of course, we have our icebreaker, and it is something that we are chittering and chattering about a little bit every day, I think, is the price of eggs. What's up with that? So for me, the price of eggs, it's the bird flu, right? So you have to deal with that with the large farms. But what I was reading is that the smaller farms are not as affected. So I've been hearing all kinds of interesting things and ways to get eggs that are a little more like Little House on the Prairie, where if you have a farmer's market or if you have, in New Jersey, we do have lots of farms around us, and you can get eggs that way. You just call them. I heard in New York that they are talking about pigeon eggs because some people have their pigeon
I'll pass on that.
Roosteries or what have you on the so they
who's
are
collecting the pigeon eggs. Like who's getting into that business right there? Because that's dangerous in and of itself. They'll peck you to death.
Right. There's also duck eggs. I don't know. Has anybody here ever had duck eggs?
I have not partaken in a duck egg. No.
Paul, you have not had a duck egg. So I think they're a little gnarly, but my friend loves them. The yolks are huge. So a lot of people prefer duck eggs because they have giant yolks. So there might be a whole new industry. But have y'all worked with any, does anybody still have a milkman, or does anybody go to any kind of farm or have chickens or know anybody?
I have a nephew who works for me. He's one of my top foremen, and he has a farm in Jobstown, New Jersey, right near Columbus. And he has that epidemic where his chickens right now have the disease.
Wow.
And I'm not sure what is the cause of the disease. I can't remember what it is, but it was from another bird or another animal that goes to the hens, and then that's how the disease happens. But he's having a real hard time cleaning that up. Really.
That's a good. So what happens? And forgive me if this sounds too harsh, but do we have to put them down, or do we is there a cure?
I think there's some type of solution, like a lubricant or something like that he's treating. He's definitely not putting them down. No.
Okay.
I was just about to ask, can we eat chickens that have the bird flu? Because, we could get a nice 6-piece out of that.
Do we want to take that chance, though? We don't want other things growing on us.
I guess.
Yeah.
I would imagine when you cook it and deep fry it,
what does it matter, right?
Right out of it.
I know. I went to my last grocery run, and I know we don't want to get too political here. I usually buy the dozen and a half, because I've got 2 little ones here, right? So their appetite is very selective. The things they eat, we gotta have, and eggs and boiled eggs are one of them for sure. And I mean, it was $13, dude. I'm like, what the heck is going? My wife's been talking to me about trying to do a little homestead, like a couple chickens in a little coop. And for years I was against it, but I'm like, you know what? I think I might start to see your plan with this. I'm on Tractor Supply looking up coops and trying to figure out how we can get this thing started.
My daughter has wanted to raise chickens in the worst way for years, and I just I will not budge. I don't care if a dozen eggs costs $50. I am not allowing chickens in our house, in our backyard, anything.
Yeah, we just want the egg. That's all. You don't want to see how they're made or
exactly
how the chickens are. It's not the most appealing thing to look at. And
I used to live across the street from somebody who had roosters, and that is just the most insanely inconsiderate thing you could do.
It's true. I grew up in Trenton and Chambersburg, and when I was a kid in the old neighborhoods, we actually had the Eggman, where he would actually come out from Hunterdon County.
Wow.
Come in with the crate. Here's so many eggs. We had the milkman at the time, fresh milk every morning. Charlie Chipman. We didn't have to leave the neighborhood. It was a whole different world.
Times were simpler then, Paul.
Time were much more simpler. Yep. Let me just lower the volume on that.
Yeah, the Charles Chipman. My friend's dad was a Charles Chip delivery guy.
Yeah.
So for our birthday parties, we all had. I don't know if you guys know them. They were like these brown tins. Tins. They were great.
Hang on. I want to show you something.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, wow.
Randy, Vinny, do you know the Charles chip?
I have no idea what you're talking about at all.
Talking about this.
Yes,
Oh my gosh! Yes.
That's
I know that.
fantastic.
I did not know the name, but I know that canister. I've seen that. Yes.
I'm I'm considered like a Trenton historian. I love anything about Trenton because I was born and raised there. So I try to save a lot of nostalgia as well.
Paul is like Inspector Gadget over here. Before we started recording this, Randy was asking him about his high school, and he's like, "Absolutely, I've got the thing right here."
Right. If I told you, Randy, I have an original cross here that were in the classrooms at the school, and I still have a lot of Iron Mike memorabilia through the years.
And listen, just before we move on, just let me say, Paul and I are alumni of the great McCorston Catholic High School from Hamilton Township. And I mean, and his philanthropy, giving back all those years, is something greatly appreciated.
Yep, long live the Iron Mikes.
I just want to test. I want to be like, if I was to ask for an umbrella, Paul just actually go get an umbrella.
If I told you, I got sweatshirts, I got old banners from. And that was another thing. We were excellent at basketball. We were championships for many of years in basketball, and I still have a lot of the old banners and so forth. So it's all good memories, all good stuff.
That's really cool. That's really, I mean, we can do this forever. We might as well move on.
Oh yeah, that's what happened.
It's a perfect transition. So Paul, I mean, does your family business, A. Pennacchi and Sons, have anything to do with the restoration and kind of the love of preservation? Have it, with your family business? Seems like that kind of goes hand in hand.
I like what you did there, Kate.
Some of these beautiful buildings. I live in Asbury Park.
And I love Asbury Park.
There's a lot of we have a carousel house. There's a lot of
exactly where it is.
Buildings that are worth preserving. But how you're talking about your love for preserving all this, it seems like goes hand in hand with your family business. And tell us about that.
It's true. We just we want to keep things the way they are. And sometimes that's a good way, not so much a bad way. But we don't like to see change. We like you learn from history, you learn from architecture as well. And you see so many beautiful buildings today, in our beautiful cities, whether it's Trenton, Camden, or Newark, just slated for demolition, where if a proper preservation organization took control of these properties years ago, they could be beautiful landmarks today. And that's same thing with New York back in the day, the Gilded Age, when they have these beautiful mansions on Fifth Avenue. Not one, or I think maybe 2 or 3 are still left, they all been demoed to make, office space and so forth. So I'm very big with preserving, but at the same time improving cities as well, for the best.
So, Paul, let me ask you, some of those beautiful buildings that had those beautiful cornices and molding works,
right?
Is there anywhere, did anyone preserve those? Is there any kind of like salvage areas that you can go to try and get some of that back?
There are, and we are also trained where we can replicate. So when we're in need or we don't have access on making those type of ornate work or stone, my warehouse, we can actually replicate to how they once were. My guys are skilled, trained stonemasons where we can actually sculpture and replicate and install with that.
So A. Pennacchi and Sons, restoration company, masonry work.
Right.
Who are your clients exactly? I mean, I feel like we missed a part where we introduced the company. Right. We went right into it.
Yeah. It's such a diverse clientele, which I love. I have several crews, one for residential and one for commercial. We're very big with commercial industrial work. We service the tri-state area. We are a union contractor, very strong provider with local 4 and 5 bricklayers of Central and North Jersey, as well as New York and Philadelphia. But my clientele, how can I put it to you this way? I could be in downtown Trenton looking at a little masonry repair job for $200-300 compared to, a multi-million-dollar project that would last a year or two. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's all over. I work, Princeton, high end, low end. I'm all over the place. And my father taught me that as a young boy, to go out and treat everybody the same. And that's what I do to this day. And people always ask me, says, you do things on such a big scale with commercial work. What are you still doing residential work? Why are you still in these little residential neighborhoods doing it? Because there's a need, there's a service. These people need our services. So that's why I grew my business to have enough, equipment and manpower to accommodate. And that's my goal.
And Paul, I was reading one of the articles online that you guys have had some press about, but it's saying like since 1947, I think it's 3 generations is what I read. The business has been around, right? Oldest masonry, contracting, and waterproofing company.
Right.
It says in Mercer County here, but I mean, maybe I guess my first question is: are there any buildings or landmarks or anything that you ride past in the state of New Jersey or elsewhere where it's like, hey, my grandfather or great grandfather built that or started that? Like, is there anything that you see like
Yeah.
that kind of gives you that, just sense of pride that you guys are still building on?
All the time. And, that's the beauty of my business. It's not like, where I just work at a desk and do a document. And then once I'm gone, I'm out of here. I can show you jobs all throughout the state, that my grandfather and father did, whether it's St. Francis Medical Center,
Wow.
they did
Wow.
that back in 1954. My grandfather and dad are long gone, but I show my son, Paul Jr., who's the vice president of the company, and he's got 12 years experience with me now, and he runs the commercial division. It's like, not only do we restore and preserve the landmarks, but that's our legacy as well. You can go up and down, like where you're at on West State Street, around the corner, all those buildings, whether it was the Roeblings, those townhouses, the Capitol building, we touched all that. The Masonic Temple, all throughout, almost,
Wow.
I'm going to say 80% of mostly all the masonry in Trenton was done by our firm over the years. My grandfather came over in 1911, no money, few bucks in his pocket. He had the trade of being a stonemason. He took a part-time job at General Motors out in Ewing back in the day, and it was the night shift. But during the day, he practiced and he went out and he did his masonry. And then back then, there was the Depression. There was no money to be exchanged. So it was be like, all right, you wash my hand, I'll wash your hands. And then my dad, Anthony, Sr., and my uncle John, they're two poverty boys coming out of Chambersburg. And they said, you know what? Let's take up this trade and do something with it. No truck. When they first started out, it was humble beginnings. My grandfather would have the wheelbarrow with the lime, cement, and sand, and the teenage boys would carry a ladder, and they would actually knock on doors. They all go throughout North Trenton, South Trenton. A lot of doors slammed in their faces, but eventually, with persistence and hard work, it started growing at a slow, rapid rate. And I mentioned St. Francis. That was actually one of the, how can I say it, one of the big jobs that they first landed that really put them on the map. And after that, my dad was always inclined and always befriended, good friends with a lot of the bishops of Trenton. And that's where our connection with all the church work that we did up until now. So we always had a wonderful, beautiful relationship with the Diocese of New Jersey. And 50% of my work are mostly religious institutions. We restore a lot of these old churches that are in decay, somewhat, almost structurally condemned. And we'll revitalize that and bring that back. But yeah, over the years, and I tell that to my son, and he's already 12 years, he's done multiple buildings throughout the state that, he'll go back one day with his kids or his grandkids and say, we did that back, back in the day. And even now and then I'll see one of the buildings, my dad or grandfather did, 50, 60, 70 years ago, and I'll get out, I'll put my hand on that brickwork or that stonework.
That's
amazing. It's like touching their hands, So
can you imagine in 2025 going door to door with like a cement barrel and being like, hey, you guys need any like major work done?
You know what it was? You did what you had to do back then. There was just no money. You had to put food on the table. And that was their way out. That was their green light. And believe me, when people tell me what's this business built on, simply blood and sweat.
Oh,
blood and sweat. There was no let's invest our money in the stock market or anything like that. There was no easy money. This was persistence, and I learned that as a young age going with my dad. Yep, I played sports and all, but my dad had me and my brother out there on the weekends after school, setting up scaffolds, cleaning the tools, organizing the trucks, persistence every day, and little by little, it just kept growing and growing. And another thing is you gotta love and have passion about what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You gotta love your industry that you're in, or else it's just not gonna work,
Listen, I mean, he's only been talking for a few moments, and there's a couple things that jump out to me like really early. Number one, it's the history. Like I think that's amazing, very, very
Yeah.
moving. And then legacy, right? When you talk about three
Right.
generations and
Yeah.
just keep going, legacy for sure. It makes me
Right.
think though, a lot of times you hear about the lack of development in like the trades and all those sort of things. Do you see that any problems or issues in terms of not so much hiring, but just the skill diminishing, or do you see it improving as time as continue to pass on?
In today's world, I do see a lack of that. Now, like my staff that I have, I have craft workers, male and female, that work here that, have been with me for 20, 30 years.
Wow.
On a younger scale, I mean, when it comes to me hiring union contractors, union workers, no problem. They're fine. But it just seems like the youth today, and I encourage this. We actually have a training facility down in Bordentown where we can train the youth. I'm a big part of that, where to come in and we can teach you how to be a tile setter. We can, marble, brick, stone. And hey, there's nothing wrong. It's a great life. You know what I'm saying? You get out, you'll always have work. You get great benefits. You start out with maybe, I don't know, sometimes as much as high as 70K in some
Wow.
situations.
Wow.
So I'm always trying to get more youth into the trade because look around. I mean, it's hard to find, good craftsmen today, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm a big believer in promoting the youth to get into more trades, whether it's not just in the masonry, whether it should be a plumber, a roofer, anything like that.
Well, that's super interesting. How do you the training center, like is that something that's brought around to schools, or like how do young people find out about that?
It's a school. You go and fill out an application at the union, and then they will train you. And
Mhm.
then once you go through your training, you come out as a apprentice, and then you'll hire by a company like me, and then you work your way up from there.
I mean, that's phenomenal to have something where you have a route because so my daughter's 22, and she's not all of her friends wanted to go the traditional route,
Right,
but they felt a little lost. Like they had to go to college, even though maybe
right,
college wasn't the right fit for them.
right,
A lot that is that the crafts, that kind of work, that
right.
skilled work, is very, very valuable. And
Sure.
you wonder if more people just don't know about it, or if it's
Right.
started. I feel like vocation is starting to come back in
Yeah.
for our culture, and it's more talked about in school and encouraged. And
Sure.
if you see that, but that's phenomenal. I
We
wonder.
all say that all the time. College isn't for everybody, and it's true. I mean, I always tell the youth, and when I was involved with the school, when they were ready for college, I says, listen, if you're planning on doing something, whether lawyer, doctor, your specialty, and it needs advanced education, absolutely. But just don't say that. I used to tell them, what are you going to school for? And they go, business. I go, well, what type of business? I says,
Right.
you got to have something at the end of the light. I says, find out whatever it is and be the best person that you are, whether you're in waste management, you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Doctor, lawyer, mason, craftsman, hairdresser, just be the best and love and learn everything you can. I was taught by my father, my grandfather, but I also on the side was self-taught. I would pick up books or go look at other job sites and study architecture. I didn't go to college for architecture, what I do now. This was
Mhm.
all self-taught and trades handed down through the generations to do that. But I tell these to the young students that I says, don't waste your time. I'm sure there's the party aspect of the college life, and which I missed out on, but,
Very
but
expensive
I
party.
made up for it afterwards down the road. Okay, but yeah, I mean, it's a question of just telling them, say, set your goal. Just don't go to college for 4 years and waste time.
Mhm.
Or what the cost of what tuition is nowadays too, as well.
It's
It
bananas.
just don't throw your money away. And I have no regrets. Right out of high school, I jumped right into the business. And by the time 4 years afterwards, I was well established.
Right. Hmm.
So,
It's
That's
but yeah,
interesting. I'm sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
and every day is a different day, and that's another thing nice about my profession. It's not that I'm just at a desk every day. I'm all over the state. I learn about history. I see different things, different clientele, different people, different neighborhoods.
Mhm.
Like for instance, we're doing a big project up in Kearney, New Jersey. I'd heard of Kearney before, but I never went through there. And now I'm in town. I'm saying, look how great this town is. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? It's got uh, great, restaurants and parks, beautiful skyline views. So you learn that through my business. That's the beauty of my business. It's not the same old every day. Different people. I meet all walks of life. It's a wonderful life.
You said something earlier that makes me think too, like about why the business has lasted and will continue to last so long. Is that oftentimes when business across any industry starts, folks sometimes get to a certain size or reach a certain level of success, and then they no longer do some of the things they were doing.
Right.
You said that you're still doing massive projects, right? To even mom, let's just say like a mom and pop shop job,
Right.
And that's amazing. The fact that you guys are still even taking on some of those things with such rich history that you guys had.
Right. Yeah, with me, just like my dad was and my grandfather, we don't take risks. We don't overextend ourselves. Don't borrow more just to have more. Little by little, slow progression, and that's how we do it. And I just watch. You like you said, just can't say, okay, I'm a businessman. Everything's there's nothing nonchalant. You got to, with me, it's constant attention every day, watching the numbers, watching the budget, making sure all the OSHA safety is in correct manner with the workers and so forth. Again, like I said, you got to have love and passion for your business, and I always said that, have two families. You have the family home and you have the family at work, love them both and take care of them.
It's amazing.
It's amazing that passion has continued generation to generation. I mean, you said your son is involved in the business.
Like literally, like we're like born into the business, and even though I have even a 2.5-year-old grandson now, Jackson, my daughter's boy, hoping one day, he'll join us as well. If my dad was alive right now, he literally has, let's see, me, my brother, my son Paul, my two nephews, Sam and Ryan, and my daughter, Adriana. So he has half his grandchildren working in his business.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'd be so curious if there are any, buildings that you guys get called to work on that, your grandfather, may have built so long ago.
So we've done that. We've done that several times. There was a church that I restored about 8 years ago that my grandfather and dad and uncle worked on back in the late 40s.
Wow.
And my Uncle John was, and it was like 10 stories, very hard to scaffold up. And my Uncle John was still living, and I took him down to show him the job site. I says, how did you 3 guys manage to do all this work on what was called the swing stage? It's just literally ropes, and you suspend down on an aluminum beam. Wow. And he says, we were young and stupid and starving.
You see a lot of videos online of guys like putting ladders on top of ladders and everything.
Oh, please.
Yeah. The old skyscraper videos.
Done that in the younger years. No, we can't do that anymore.
Guys having lunch like 50 stories up, just sitting on the ledge like it's nothing.
Yep. No, I can show you some pictures on some high rises that we worked on and so forth. It's and that's another thing. Like I said, you got to be cut for this type of work. My guys are trained and skilled, and height never really bothered us.
Paul, when you just talked about photos, I think that'd be really cool if you didn't mind sharing just a few photos of maybe some old jobs or some current things. Like we can kind of put that in for those that are watching. I can
send them over to you. I do have some on my website if you check that out as well. But I definitely can send some over to you.
That's just for our YouTube viewers. So
right.
So cool.
Bonus.
Well, the passion is there. I mean, if there's anything I can preserve, like we have a house. It's from 1928. It's an old Sears kit home, so it's
love it.
Yeah, it's not huge, but everything about it is beautiful, and we just preserved everything we could. And when we had to redo a molding, we have friends that are craftsmen, and they came over, and you would never notice. It looks exactly like the crown molding that was here in 1928.
Ain't that amazing? And there's a lot of those houses out there, just right here in Mercer County alone. And who thought, just how times have changed? How about that? Going back in the day, hey, I need a house. Let's pull up the Sears catalog.
Yeah.
They would come out and put the house up for you, Yeah,
the Sears kit. I mean, there's in Asbury, there's I'm very involved in the town and the Carousel building. And I don't know, Randy or Vinny, if you know it. It's
I used to play there as a kid. Yep.
Oh, excellent. So, so there's these Medusa medallions on the outside of the carousel, these beautiful Medusa medallions. One was stolen years ago. I don't even know how they got it, but there are to preserve something historically, and I'm not exactly, there's 3 criteria you need to establish. Like it's got to be federally important, statewide important, and maybe regionally important, and you have to adhere to all of those. And the Carousel House doesn't exactly have that yet. In Asbury Convention Hall does.
Right. Well, that's coming up. That's coming up for slated for restoration.
That is a massive project, and it is. We have the Paramount Theater in there, which has not been open for years because it's not safe yet. But it is a spectacular building. And
in the carousel, I'm sure you probably know that if you live Asbury Park, but that's where Bruce Springsteen filmed Tunnel of Love.
Yep.
Back in the day, I think it was 1987, and I was down there when he was filming that. But I love Asbury Park. Now, see, that's what I love. Now, there's a town. We had a place in Ocean Grove for many years, right next door, and we would go over to Asbury Park, late 70s and 80s, and you can see how bad it, decay was going on. Look at what happened. Revitalization, restoration. You go there in the summertime, or even now, I go there all year long. Look at what it become. What a beautiful place. We restored it the way it was. Families, people to enjoy now,
Yeah, that's the charm.
I live in Asbury. Done with other great cities here in our state,
Especially Trenton has such beautiful buildings. Camden has such gorgeous buildings.
Newark, all over the place, and construction, architecture wasn't always like that. That started happening around the 1900s, the turn of the century. Before then it was mostly that typical colonial design style. But what happened was, the people with, that had businesses or that were really doing well would go over to Europe, France, Italy, and they would say, wow, look at that building. I want that.
Right.
And they would go and say, who built your building? And they would go to the Italians, the Germans, the Scottish people. And they would say, guess what? You're going to pay this much. We're going to pay you this much. You're coming to America. And that was that flux. Then that's, when Princeton University was built, all that stonework, New York City, Philadelphia, all that, City Hall work, even in Trenton and so forth. That's when all the Europeans came over with their trade and started constructing.
And Paul, what you just mentioned too about like revitalization of the cities, and I think about like all the old Victorian buildings and like a lot of the inner cities, you see like those style homes and things of that nature. But it makes me think, right? Like when you think about old cars, they went from being like all like steel and aluminum products to like a lot of I used to hear my grandfather say it's all made of plastic now. Do you see the same or any difference of that in terms of like building materials, or is it like a brick is a brick and it's going to forever be a brick?
No, it's just it's still wonderful quality building construction today. It's just that how times have changed to be more modernist. Now, you can study like skylines of, say, New York City. It changes every 5 years.
Okay.
And do I see a difference? Not too many construction of brick or stone. No, you don't see that much anymore. When was the last time you seen a building go up, or a high rise in limestone or brick?
Right.
Not that it's rare, but it's not like it used to be before. Mostly it's all glass construction now that you can see. And like I said, look at the skyline. It's a different design building. It's mostly all glass, and that's where we reinvent ourselves, So instead of picking up the trowel, that's where we get the sealants and the caulking and the weather stripping to service and maintain the glass structures as well, And that's our purpose, not only are we preserving and restoring, and we do new brickwork and stonework as well, but we also waterproof these buildings as well. After so many years, they start to leak, and we'll come in and make sure everything's nice and watertight.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, just talk about New York real quick. I don't know if you guys remember, or you wouldn't remember, but the Barney Miller show. I don't know, Paul, if you remember.
I used to watch the Barney Miller show.
So in the Barney Miller show, in the opening, it's a water scene. It's a view of the New York skyline.
Right. It was the Twin Towers and a few other buildings. The
and
Woolworth
they're all
building.
seem so short now. It seems so much bigger now.
Yeah. It looks like something space age now. I was just in the city yesterday, and you just see these big monument glass structures now. It's it looks like a modern day, which is beautiful.
It is beautiful, but if you just want to go like Google the opening to Barney Miller and look
Yeah.
at the
How times have changed. Progress, right?
I know. I was like, holy cow, that was crazy.
Yeah. No matter where you go, look at Dubai. That was once just a desert.
Wow. Wow. Paul, another question I'm thinking about too is like, so right during COVID, a lot of businesses had to adjust and kind of, pivot and all those sort of things.
Right.
What are there any things that you guys learned, any new skills or abilities you guys picked up that helped you, still continue to make your way through?
On our side of the fence with COVID, and other contractors will agree in certain trades that they have skyrocketed. Our business elevated at a rapid pace. The reason why is, and I'll talk on this as a residential aspect. So
Okay.
people are working from home now. They're not doing the 9 to 5. I'm coming home. I'm tired. Let me eat something. So they're home. They're looking at the exterior of their house. They're seeing the decay of their stucco, brick, masonry, or they're saying, you know what? We can't go anywhere. It's down the shore or vacation now. So let me do something nice in my backyard. Let me build myself a beautiful landscape bluestone patio, terraces. It seems like we went into the bluestone terrace business. And I must have had, that kept us going all throughout COVID.
Wow.
Wow.
Because like people, that was the only enjoyment people were having, enjoying their homes. So with us during COVID, unfortunately, the times that we were living in, my business actually prospered with that because people were putting more money into their homes. And the commercial division, it was a good time for us to service those buildings because we didn't have to worry about traffic. A lot of people were at home. So we were going into the city or here in New Jersey and servicing these buildings because they were basically unoccupied.
Wow.
So that's how we got through.
Yeah, I didn't think about that at all. I was thinking maybe it would be the opposite, like with everybody going home, commercial real estate going down.
Right.
Wow.
Now keep in mind, you do have a point there as well. Because in my business, like most of those things I just mentioned, some of it, like the patios and things like that, terraces, that's more of a want. It's not so much a necessity.
Gotcha.
Right.
But if you're living in your home or building and you're having excess water coming in, whether it's through your house or in your basement, or if your chimney's ready to fall down, I'm just using these as examples, or you got structural issues with your building. My business is mostly, and that's why we manage to stay open, because we're structural. These are structural emergency repairs.
Yeah.
So that's what got us through as well. But sure, as far as, the other things, that's considered more of a luxury, a want, but we're mostly in the necessity business.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a great business to go into when you think about it, because there's no such thing as like, well, should we, shouldn't we, when like part of your house is falling down and water's getting
It's like the second runner-up in my profession would have been a funeral director. You got work no matter what.
Yeah, right.
Good times, bad times. It's more pronounced in my business, but it's a necessity. It's something that whether you need it or not, it has to be done.
Right.
I'm not going to live here in a house with a hole in the roof, and just put a tarp over it,
And Paul, with so much history, I mean, and you guys are in the restoration, waterproofing, and all that stuff. Like, are there times where you go out to a home or a commercial building and it's like, you know what, we can't do anything with this. This has to be rebuilt or redone. Or like, do you ever have any instances like that?
Honestly, we're very good at restoring almost 100%. Very rarely do I says I cannot help you. Or if it's just too far gone, I'll just say we'll price it out for new construction.
Wow.
You ever just go into like somebody's house like as a guest and be like,
There's been times where, in a situation where if they're senior citizens and they don't get, they can't do the stairs anymore down the basement.
Right.
There's been times where I go down there and the foundation has a huge bow with like a tree limb going through it, and said, you shouldn't even be in the house right now. The whole foundation has to be lifted up and rebuilt. So I've seen that.
Yeah, it must be hard to just walk through a house and not kind of be a Terminator about it and just kind of notice everything,
right?
Good or bad, just just whatever. How you just look at something.
Like I said, we're very good. I have the right craftsmen that work for us, where most of the time we can restore everything to originality. you know.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
honestly, I tell the people, I always give them the options. There's always, it would be nice to do a full restoration, but if it's just not in the budget right now, I can just do the most critical areas for you. Just stable it for the next 5-6 years until you're ready to do a complete restoration with that. So I always work with the customer.
That's
That's
fantastic.
and even though we're like on a corporate level, it still operates as a family business, and another thing is, do I have estimators? I do, but most of the time I go out myself because it's like when you call up a business, you like to deal with that person himself. So when they call a Pennacchi, they want a Pennacchi there, So
Absolutely.
most of the time, me and my son will be there on any estimate.
And
Well,
is that
that's
the same for your work? So that there's no outsourcing here. These are all Pennacchi employees. You
Absolutely.
guys have hired and
Absolutely.
hands on the.
Absolutely. Once in a while, we'll, if we take on a project where it needs general contracting work, I will use very reputable subcontractors that I've been using for the past, 30, 40 years. Or even generations from my father as well. Some of them are still around.
I've got one more question before we jump into our trivia, so we can stay kind of on the mark here. And Paul, I guess my question is this: if folks are listening today, or folks are going to watch on YouTube, especially when we share a couple photos, are there any projects coming up down the pike, 2025, or futuristically, that's like when you see this, that this was us, or a certain style, or anything like that? Any outlook you want to give us and our viewers for the rest of for the year going forward?
I mean, we have a few projects going on. Like I said, we're very big, with the diocese. We're doing a beautiful cathedral down in Long Branch now, not too far from Asbury Park. It's called Our Lady Star of the Sea, where
Oh yeah.
it's totally.
I see that, Casey. I see that. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, beautiful. It's a block off the ocean.
Oh yeah, I know
And
that. It's
it
gorgeous.
looks like night and day now. It's just a beautiful transformation. But we do a lot of unique properties. The War Memorial, Peninsula Hotel in New York. I could go on and on and on with that.
Oh, the Peninsula Hotel. That's beautiful. I
Yeah,
was just there for Christmas.
5th and 55th. Oh, isn't it
Yeah.
beautiful how they have it decorated inside there?
Oh, for Christmas in
Yeah.
the lobby
We lose Casey.
is so
There we go.
pretty. It's a gorgeous. Yeah, I went this Christmas. That's so funny.
So that was originally the Gotham Hotel. And I believe that was put up in the early 1900s. That's one of the New York landmarks across from the St. Regis. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was put up by one of the Vanderbilts back in the day. But that's a perfect example of the Gilded Age. And that masonry on that building is phenomenal. Beautiful. And again, it's not the biggest, but the architecture is beautiful.
I mean, just listening to you talk history and the knowledge of what you guys do is amazing. We can do this forever, but I mean, then let's transition.
I know.
Case, I keep thinking of other stuff to talk about, but we gotta move on.
And then there's the history of it. We did the old Trenton Barracks. We worked on the the Hunter House, the cookhouse out in the Princeton battlefield. Now you're working on a house where Revolutionary soldiers were fighting right there in front of you. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And you're working on the same house where General Mercer was laid, where he passed away. It was named after the county of Mercer, General Mercer. That's where he died, on the battlefield.
Wow.
So things like that, like every day's,
That's
it's like you're living history every day.
That's really cool.
I love that stuff. I love it.
Transition is Vin. We'll be here all day.
All right.
It's good stuff. Yeah, it's all good stuff.
We could all day.
We love on this show to do a little trivia game. Let our audience see what their knowledge of New Jersey is. Randy, why don't you tell us what we're playing for today?
Well, we are playing for, Paul, you're going to have a fabulous gift card to your whatever Wawa's near you.
I think you can get one and it works everywhere.
They're on every corner now, right?
You'll have lunch
right across
on
the street.
For just showing your wealth of knowledge and history, man. It's been amazing. So we've got a gift card coming your way.
Thank you.
Participating for us today.
Terrific. Thank you.
All right. So, Paul, I don't know if you have a piece of paper and something to write with. If not, I'll pause the show while you go get something.
I'm ready.
All right. Awesome. All right. Question number one.
He's prepared.
All right. In 1858,
Jeez.
William Peter Falk discovered the first nearly complete what in Haddonfield, New Jersey?
Oh, I think I know this.
Ooh.
Wow.
William Peter Falk in what did he? Can I hear the question again?
In 1858, William Peter Falk discovered the first nearly complete what in Haddonfield, New Jersey?
I think I know this.
Ooh.
And this doesn't happen too often. Then,
I know. This is our last. I think next episode we're really tallying up the whole questions for the game. So
no AI allowed, Paul.
We're not looking at our phones.
All right, what do we got? What do we got?
Oh, I can't even. That's right. The background. I've got dinosaur fossil.
It is a dinosaur skeleton. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Casey, what did you got?
I wrote watershed.
How did you know that?
How do you discover a watershed? Paul, what did you put?
I put down tavern. I put down tavern.
We've discovered this nearly complete tavern.
Yeah. They go back to the early. That's the first thing I know. That was a stupid answer right there.
Listen, I give him every episode, Paul. I give him every episode.
I'm going to be more prepared next time. I didn't know I was getting into the mix here.
It was a hadrosaur. I did not know that the first it was the first time a dinosaur skeleton was put on display. It was found right here in New Jersey.
Now, is it still there?
I don't know if it's still in Haddonfield, but it was discovered there, and then it's on display in a museum somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right.
Randy, your son loves dinosaurs.
That's
right?
Casey. That's how I know. You already know.
Wow. All right, number 2. This Newark, New Jersey native is more known for their work on camera than anything else, but they'll always be hip-hop royalty to me.
I know that one.
Ooh.
Whitney Houston?
I don't know that I would call Whitney Houston hip-hop royalty.
Wait, I heard you froze in a minute after you said, will you say it again?
The question? Sure.
Yes.
This Newark, New Jersey native is more known for their work on camera than anything else, but they'll always be hip-hop royalty to me.
I got one for that too, Vin. And Paul gave me a hint when he went Whitney. I'm going to go the opposite way.
I mean, I would guess you'd have to, because Whitney Houston never did anything hip-hop related, at least that I'm aware of.
Right.
All right, let's see the answers here.
I got Queen Latifah too, Casey.
I got Queen Latifah.
Paul?
Wow, you guys are good. I put down Whitney Houston. That's what I put down.
All right, Queen Latifah is the correct answer.
I have never got two right in the same episode.
Randy could conceivably win this thing.
Randy, you're racking it up. All right. Yeah, Queen Latifah will always be the queen.
Oh, yeah. This next one is a multiple choice, so you got at least a 33% chance of getting this one right. By the end of 1787, only 3 states had ratified the Constitution and officially become part of the United States of America. We were one of them, but were we first, second, or third? So it's basically, if you were to list out the states in America, based on the date we joined the Union, where does New Jersey fall? And I'm giving you the hint. It's either number 1, number 2, or number 3. All right. Anybody got anything?
I mean, I'm guessing.
I said 3.
That's
Paul, what you got?
I said 3.
All right. Paul and Randy are correct.
3
for 3.
Thank God for multiple questions. Multiple answers.
I've got a really easy one for number 4. If you guys want to, stretch Randy's luck
here. I am on the roll right now.
All right. One more. This is a pretty easy one. This New Jersey city is named for the Roman god of the sea.
That's a good one. That's like my neighbor.
I really don't want Randy to lose this streak. I feel like I should give it another hint here.
This is a bonus, so I'm good.
Randy, you still win. You got all 3 right.
Yeah, you got all 3. I just don't want to lose this streak of all 4 of them.
So we're all winners here.
Another little hint for you, Randy. The average temperature in this city is 32.2 degrees Fahrenheit. But meanwhile, there is another location that shares its name with an average temperature of negative 353 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, you're doing worse.
It's like the 8th planet from the sun. All right, let's hear the answers you got. Neptune is the answer.
Neptune. I love Neptune.
Yeah, Paul, you got it.
Yeah, you're right there. Asbury Park, Ocean Grove.
So I believe that puts Randy as our winner today, correct?
And Paul, you still get the gift card, so it doesn't even matter. Just as a fellow
sportsmanship right there. I would have kept it for myself.
I'll take you out for coffee and we'll talk Iron Mikes.
Internally, though, the win.
Listen,
That's what you went for.
Case, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Well done, Randy. I got warned.
Paul, if anybody wants to take advantage of your services, maybe learn a little bit more, how can they get a hold of A. Pennacchi and Sons?
They can call, they could just Google my name, will come right up, or call us at, area code 609-394-7354, but just look us up on the web.
Cool.
Google us. Yep. We'll come right up.
Paul,
all right, Casey.
Pennacchi.com.
Perfect. Not a lot of Pennacchi, A. Pennacchi and Sons out there, I don't think. So, Paul, thank you so much. I mean,
thank you.
We got to talk
Appreciate your time. It was great. Loved it all. Thank you.
Wonderful.
All right, take care. Looking forward to the event. All right,
Absolutely.
bye now.
Bye,
guys.
Bye.